Recap. Our son and daughter-in-law, 26 years old, have been together for 2 years and lived together. We've always thought she was a very nice girl and she seemed to make my son happy. Some time ago, husband and I were over at their apartment and we decided to order some food. My husband and I wanted to pay, and since my daughter-in-law was ordering from her phone, we gave her our card so she could draw the money from our account. We thought it goes without saying that this was to draw an amount once for lunch. However, my daughter-in-law apparently put our card into her Apple Pay and has been using it since. Until today, she's spent around $17,000. We were shocked and called her up and asked why she's been using our card. She got very defensive, tried to deny it, and eventually said she was entitled to it and asked why we cared since we hadn't noticed her use for over 4 months. We told her she needed to pay us back immediately or we'd report her actions for theft. Our son has completely dismissed her behaviour and excused it as her being stressed. She has taken no responsibility, but I want to teach her the consequences of her actions. Update: am I the idiot for suing my daughter-in-law? Thank you for all your feedback. I got many requests for an update, so here goes. We were utterly and completely shocked by our son's nonchalant way of handling this and at a loss. We desperately wanted to fight for our son, but he'd been avoiding us since the initial confrontation. We decided we would take the advice and call the police to press charges. However, we wanted to let our son know before doing so. My husband and I decided to show up at his office since he had been ignoring our calls and texts. I know this might sound like boundary crossing to some, but we desperately wanted to talk to our son. Initially, he got angry and asked us to leave, but he calmed down and agreed to hear us out. We told him our side of the story, and to say the least, he was shocked. He apologized profusely, cried a little and begged for forgiveness. He told us he was blinded by love, working 14 hours a day and under the impression we had gifted his girlfriend the money. His girlfriend had apparently told him that we wanted to spoil her as our future daughter-in-law and that we gave her carte blanche to buy herself nice things to welcome her to the family. And that we'd since changed our minds about spoiling her and now wanted all the money back, knowing she couldn't afford it. She told him that we did that as a manipulative way to force her out of his life, to try and control him. He was also under the impression she'd spent maybe $3,000 or $5,000 and not $17,000. He was livid and was actually the one who, in the end, convinced us to pursue legal action. He actually helped us call the police right then and there at his office after our talk. We then went with him home and helped him pack up all her stuff before she came home. She wasn't on the lease, living rent-free, so kicking her out was no issue. We offered to stay with him for the blow-up, but he wanted to handle it on his own. From what he's told me, she didn't take this lightly. So our son's ex has now been pressed with charges and we're awaiting further information. As some of you pointed out, it's a sufficient amount and she's been pressed with criminal charges. Our bank has also been informed and we're told we'll likely get our money back. She blew up on the entire family, but no one but our other daughter-in-law is taking her side. Our other daughter-in-law is a whole story for another time perhaps, but we're now glad to officially announce that we are thief-free in the family. I'm sorry your son had to find out who his fiancée was the hard way, but better that than not at all. So grateful your son believed his parents and didn't allow himself to continue to be deluded by his feelings. What a piece of work, that girl. She's the poster child for entitlement. Wow, all the best moving forward. I know of someone who served 5 years in prison for using $550 on a credit card that was not theirs. Daughter-in-law might rightly be facing some severe consequences. I'm shocked she spent so damn much. I don't condone stealing on any level, but that is an unfathomable amount on her part. Absolutely disgusting. I'm very suspicious about the son still. What's this about him not knowing, changing his story? First, he said she spent the money because she was stressed. Now he didn't know the amount. Now he wants to kick her out. The boy knew all along and didn't care. I wouldn't give him a free pass so easily. OP, I'm so happy that the woman was charged and out, but I keep an eye on your son, because you either have a liar or an idiot running his own law practice. Neither is good. My hubby and I recently bought a new home together. His mom started pestering us for a copy of the key in case of an emergency. I told her about our rule, which is only residents get to have a copy of the key. She kept complaining and even got the family involved. Last week, she demanded a copy of the key sent to her. I decided to grab the copy of the key to her house that my husband had been keeping for years and sent it to her with a note saying, "Only residents get a copy, so this copy is for the home you reside in." She was beyond livid about it. She told the family and I was called names. Now hubby is complaining about how I escalated and made a mistake by upsetting her further instead of just sticking to no. Not the idiot. First, I thought you were going to pretend it was the correct key and see how long it would take for her to try it. Absolutely, she is the idiot for pestering you about this when it's clearly your choice. But yeah, your husband has a point about you stirring the pot. I would love to know what mother-in-law thinks could be an emergency such that her having a key would resolve that emergency. It would have to be something like you left your pet inside and one of you is travelling and the other is in the hospital. Or you have an alarm system to let you know about a leaking pipe, but you're stuck at work, mother-in-law to the rescue. The point is, if you don't want or expect mother-in-law to respond to these emergencies, then she doesn't need a key. I think the emergency she's thinking of is she is in your area and she wants to use your bathroom and check bedroom drawers. Everyone's the idiot here. Your husband nailed it. You escalated when you could have just kept saying no or ignored her. Also, I'm sure he would like to have a key to his mom's place in case of emergency, and you took that away. Mother-in-law sucks for obvious reasons. She should have accepted the first no. Sure, OP escalated, but only after mother-in-law started escalating by involving family and then demanding, as if she has any authority over two adults in their own home. But if it works and mother-in-law stops pushing for a key, then OP accomplished what her husband could or would not. No is a complete sentence. She didn't respect your answer regardless of your telling her repeatedly. She is the idiot, and so is your husband for not standing up to his mother. How is he not standing up to his mother exactly? He hasn't tried to convince OP to give the key. As far as we can tell, he's on board with not giving her a key. He simply told his wife she should have continued to stay firm on saying no, rather than escalating the situation, which seems reasonable to me. OP, you would be just fine if you simply said no. But you became the idiot when you went super petty with the whole give her a copy of her key BS. Grow up. I, 25 female, have a fraternal twin sister and am getting married next fall. We were very close growing up until high school. She was an outgoing, bubbly cheerleader, and I was a shy, nerdy bookworm, so she ditched me for the popular kids. She didn't actively pick on me, but she'd stand by with her head down and do nothing when they bullied me. She would talk to and hang out with me at home as if nothing was wrong, but when at school or at the mall where the kids at our school were likely to be seen, she didn't want to be seen with me. When we turned 16, she had a big bash, but I didn't have any friends, so I didn't want to try and have a party. Our parents were making her include me, but she discreetly offered me $100 to pretend I was sick. I took the money because I really didn't want to go to a party where I'd at best be ignored, or worse, picked on. We went to separate colleges across the country from each other. She tried to keep in touch, but I ignored her because I was very traumatized by losing my sister and best friend. I would be polite to her at home during school breaks, but kept her at arm's length. Anyway, I don't want her to be a bridesmaid, let alone maid of honor. My parents thought it would be a good compromise to have her just be a regular bridesmaid. My big from my sorority will be my maid of honor, and my fellow littles who had the same big will be my bridesmaids. I reluctantly said she could be a guest at the wedding but not a bridesmaid. If it were entirely up to me, I wouldn't invite her at all, but that would cause more drama in my family than it's worth. I told them, but what would other people think if she was seen with me? She cried, she never apologized, she just thought because it was so long ago I should let bygones be bygones because she was young and immature, and my parents agreed with her. But I had to be in therapy for years because of her. Why should I have someone as a bridesmaid who thinks they're better than me? Am I the idiot? The only thing OP's sister is sorry about is that she's not allowed to share the stage, and thus try to steal the spotlight on OP's special day. Not the idiot, OP. Your sister showed no remorse for how she treated you during your teens. She even went so far as to pay you to not be at her sweet 16. Oh, boo-hoo, the spotlight's not on you. It's probably eating her up inside. The people standing next to you on your special day should be the people you feel supported by. Honestly, if you're in therapy, be strict with your parents and tell them she's uninvited. Is it worth having someone like that on your happiest day to date? In my opinion, just use your shiny spine and offer her $100 to say she was sick and not come. It's your wedding, so you decide what you want. Also, your parents and sister need to realize actions have consequences. And honestly, your parents should have fixed her behavior in high school. But what would people think if the more popular sister wasn't in the wedding? Clutches pearls. It's more about them and appearances at the wedding. Don't let them bully you as did your sister. The victim is still being asked to sacrifice her happiness for sister. Say no and mean it. $20, I bet she would try to upstage the sister by being more outgoing and popular than the bride. My friend Alyssa is having a baby with my fiancé's cousin Daniel. My fiancé's family is old-fashioned, and having children outside of wedlock isn't something the elders are happy about, even in 2023. I've known them all my life, so I've seen firsthand how children born out of wedlock are treated differently. The only child they've treated the same is my son, and that's because everyone always knew and assumed I would eventually marry my fiancé, so it wasn't as big of a deal to his parents as it would have been otherwise, but even then there were some issues we had to work through. I warned Alyssa that her baby would most likely be treated differently because she had these plans for her daughter's life that relied on the dad's family funding them, which I don't think will happen. I know it's a tough pill to swallow, but she accused me of lying and mentioned how my son's grandparents and great-grandmother treated him just as well as the other kids in the family. I told her that was different, and she didn't like my answer when I explained how it was, so we've been fighting for the last week, and I'm wondering if I was an idiot. You are the idiot. I was with you until you brought up that they treat your child, born out of wedlock, just fine. And you still aren't actually part of the family because he hasn't married you. Since it's been long enough that you know they treat your child fine, it sounds like a really long engagement. Wow. I've seen it happen before in 3 different cases, including with Daniel's brother. I warned her so she doesn't get her hopes up and end up hurt once her baby is born, and things aren't how she expects them to be. Daniel is engaged already, he's in an open relationship, so he won't marry her. OP, why didn't you explain earlier that Daniel is engaged to another woman? That is why the baby will be treated differently, I feel, not necessarily the not engaged thing, but because your friend will likely be looked at as just a baby mama. I may be looking too much into the engagement since he has an open relationship, but that tells me there are fundamentally different plans this guy has. Unless he's going to end his current proposal for your friend, she will absolutely be treated differently and, as you said, almost certainly will not be treated like the other kids, regardless of the wedlock or not. Yep, people misunderstand your purpose and also the situation at large. Geez, the father of this woman's child is already engaged to someone else. Letting her know that she shouldn't rely on the financial support of judgmental people who have a history of othering those in similar circumstances is a perfectly fine thing to do and, in some ways, probably doing her a favor. She shouldn't plan to spend money that's not hers. Simply, she can count on her income and on baby daddy's support, but she cannot expect his parents to choose her over their son's fiancée because she's the one he knocked up. All traditional views aside, they're always going to be loyal to their son and his family, not to his side piece. She should know that and be prepared for that. When you decide to carry a child of someone in a serious relationship with someone else, you have to be prepared to always be the last priority. That poor baby. It's now time for her to see for herself. It's also quite entitled of her to depend on other people's money to support her child. My wife, 28, is pregnant with our first child. She's about 5 months along and I, 29 male, am very excited to be a father. This past weekend we had a baby shower at our house. We invited both sides of our family rather than trying to do 2 separate showers. I have a cousin, Sue, 22 female, who I wasn't going to invite because she's very open about being child-free to the point of being anti-natalist. She's said some very out there things in the past about these topics, and I figured she wouldn't want to come even if we invited her. But after getting pressure from both my mom and Sue's mom about not leaving her out, I reluctantly sent Sue an invite, and to my surprise, she accepted. For the most part, things went well at the shower, but when my wife started opening presents, Sue kept making comments. First, it was about how much waste diapers create and how wasteful baby clothes are because they outgrow them so fast. Then it was about how so many baby and kids' toys are made overseas where workers are taken advantage of. Then, when my mom told us that they had already set up a college fund for our child, Sue made a comment about how parents shouldn't force their kids out of the house at 18 and how if people had to support their kids all through life, maybe fewer people would have kids. It was at this point that I pulled Sue aside and talked to her in another room. I told her that if she hates the idea of kids so much, she might just leave. She said she was just stating facts and that the truth can never be controversial. I told her that in that case, I had a hard truth for her. I told her that the only reason I invited her was that her mom practically begged me to, and I didn't want her in our house and that she was no longer welcome, so she should leave. I must have raised my voice louder than I thought because my mom and Sue's mom came into the room and asked what was going on. Sue said that I was kicking her out because she was child-free. I told her I was kicking her out because she was being an idiot on a day that was supposed to be about celebrating my wife's pregnancy, and all Sue was doing was making it about her BS beliefs. My mom and Sue's mom tried to calm things down, but I insisted that Sue leave right then and there, or I would be forced to call the police because she was currently trespassing. Sue grabbed her things and stormed out, and my mom and Sue's mom got mad at me. They told me that Sue was just stating her opinion and that some of the things she said were true. I told them there's a time and a place for that kind of conversation, and a baby shower sure as heck isn't it. I told them this is exactly why I didn't want to invite Sue in the first place, and as far as I'm concerned, they are just as much to blame as Sue is. Literally no one was happy, and the whole baby shower became about something else instead of focusing on my wife and our upcoming baby. There's a time and a place for stating your opinion. Being a jerk when someone is opening a gift and talking about how wasteful that gift is and so on is not that time or place. Not the idiot OP. It seems that Sue was on a mission to ruin the event for others. Where do people even get the idea that being brutally honest and giving everyone your unsolicited opinion about everything is some kind of virtue? It doesn't make you edgy. It makes you an idiot. If she was truly child-free in the way she says she is, like against the whole damn concept of children existing or whatever, she'd just skip the event. Instead, she attended and ran her mouth because that's what she wanted in the first place. Attention. Exactly, she's already having a baby. You can't stop her. What's she gonna do, return it? What was she looking to accomplish here? It's like going to a barbecue you know isn't going to be fully vegan and accosting every guest with meat on their plate or hanging out with the host at the grill making snide comments the whole time. And if you don't want to be there, don't go. It's an invitation, not a damn summons. And that's why you don't cave to family pressure to invite the idiot in the first place. Don't just kick your cousin out of the baby shower, kick her out of your life. Be sure to keep her far from your kid so she doesn't express how much of a mistake having a child is to the kid. People like this are pathetic. It's fine to be child-free, but to purposely and vindictively try to ruin someone else's baby shower because of your personal beliefs is immature at best and cruel at worst.